Greetings to everyone, greetings to all nationals, greetings to the Ushatamu nationals, greetings to my goddess, greetings to everybody you don't know. Corporate subject and the brainwash citizens as well. Now, let me go direct and straight to it, as usual, because what we're talking about is the real history of Uluru, Uromi, Uromin. Not the colonizers' company they create. We ain't calling that. We're going to give you the history of the establishment of that company, who established the company, when it was established, and why they had such a hard time colonizing this land over all the West Caribbean islands. Now, in 1679 to 1697, the French established a base here with authorization of our ancestors, us, our people, right? They tried a little war, but was overthrown and beaten. They could not defeat our people. So they resort to peace, only occupying the lands close to the seashore. And there was a so-called general in the French army named Mr. Vincent. With an establishing the commercial company, they decide they will have to give it a name. So they name it after him, St. Vincent. St. Vincent was the name of the commercial company, the maritime law company, to do business on the land of Uromi, right? So within that era, up to 1701, they established the company, signed treaty, and only reside on the shore side only, not in the mountains and all over the island, because our people was too powerful, too strict, and too much a warrior for them. So they had to just accept what we give to them to occupy as a business. And within the business structure, it was supposed to be where they're paying us tax, not we paying them, as twist the other way around. And there was no such thing as St. Vincent, known as the island. It was just the French company that was established, that was called St. Vincent, right? So it's just a corporation, a company, right? A commercial company. Now, within the Act of 1719, the British realized that this land was not captured, yet the French was here doing business peacefully with the Aboriginal or indigenous, whatever you want to call, our ancestors, we, our people, who we are. Now, in that act, while all of this is carrying on, the French realize they don't capture Ianola, which is called St. Lucia. They don't capture Kairi, which is called Trinidad. They don't capture Camahan, which is Grenada. They don't capture Yakama, which is Jamaica, right? And the rest of the islands. But this land, uncaptured, yet the French dwell here and only occupy the seashores. So they realize, boy, something has to be done. We have to capture this land. This is the only land that is uncaptured. So the French come in and join. And within the act of the British come in and join, with the French. But the French never give British a lot of privilege and rights, because the French had a treaty with us for peace and stay only where we give them authority to stay, which is by the sea coast. Now, the British ain't like it. So the British proceed to war with the French, thinking that them have the might to conquer. So the British and the French start warring from 1719 right up to 1765-68. Right? Now, it ended in 1768, the war. Now, the British, themselves, after trying to fight with us realized that they're no match neither. So they resort to the same treaty that we signed with the French and say they're going to take a side and look for peace. What they're doing here, I don't know. But within the act of determination, right, they had a few of people looking like us working with them, running the colonies. And they perpetrate the fraud and call some of them, pretending that some of them are slaves because they had a plot and a plan. The plot was to eradicate the crops and the food that we grow for our sustainability and our livelihood coming to our camp. And the only way they could do that is by creating a trust, creating some form of unity and act like we and them is friends. And send out a message if any of our people get away and run away is to return them to them. Because them is so-called indentured slaves. When reality, it was not slaves, it's just people who working with them. But they had to play this game on the people to capture the land. So what they did is that they sent some of them who look like us to run into the field and act like they are runaway slaves. So they could spy out our camp and see how we set up our system. And then go back and inform the British as to what's taking place. So the British could try to sneak into the camp, destroy our crops and destroy our food. And you know, once food is limited and we don't have the resources to keep feeding our people to continue, you know, for some reason or the other, there will be some surrender, right? This is how the British managed to get the upper hand, right? By infiltrating our camps, using people looking like us and pretending that they're slaves run away. And when we call to unite with them and give them who they brought here as slaves to tell them get the people out of the land, they act as though, yeah, they get them out of the land and they grab the few of them who they send up their spies and play the game because all of them was in a plot together. Then within a week or so, when we out doing what we had to do, there was some secret invasion and lots of our crops and food and places where we store a lot of food was burnt and destroyed. And so for some reason, 60% of our people say we're gonna have to surrender because we don't have enough food to feed man, woman, and children. And whatever. And they surrender. While the other 35% remain in the mountains, still doing the thing. And those that surrender, a few of them, not all, was shipped off to the northern side of the islands where they refer to as Grenadine Islands, Batway and Batwill, right? And some made it off to the other Caribbean islands in canoe because it was a kind of disturbing situation. While a handful of us still stick around and never give up the fight because we had to find methods and ways to regrow food and stay sustainable. And we did successfully doing that. But our group was a little too small to really tackle these mercenaries, what they call the French and the bitches. And so the unity, they gain unity, and the French and the British eventually unite. In 1771 to 1778, they unite. And they actually fought against the remaining that was here. That's why you see the cannon gun was not turned towards the seashore. The cannon gun and fort and other areas was turned towards the mountain. So they was fighting us in the mountains. That's the reason why the cannon gun, and if you look at Fort Charlotte, was not turned to the sea. It was turned to the mountain. So they had to fight. Nevertheless, this battle go on for years, over 100 years, and still could not win completely. But within the act of being control most of the landmass, including the seashore and all the areas close to where the French had set up the de facto company called St. Vincent. It had a few of our people who submit and decide to work with them, right? Because of the shortage of food. And these people know that within this whole situation that they create, you can't capture land without nationalizing the land. So the French and the British say, we can't just have this name of this company, St. Vincent, only recognized to our business along the seashore. We have to expand it. The whole island and everything has to be known as St. Vincent. And we have to name over the villages them as well. And the people will get a documentation called a birth certificate. And through this, we will run commerce. And they will be our slave through documentation, which is known today as paper terrorists or paper genocide. This is the story that has never been told in the rightful manner. Because St. Vincent is not a land. St. Vincent is a company, a de facto company. When you're talking about history of St. Vincent establishing, you have to establish the truth in when that colony, that company established. There is no land named St. Vincent. This is Uromi or Uluru. This is not St. Vincent. St. Vincent is a company. So when I hear people say they're giving historical facts about land named St. Vincent, I myself has to really look back at the situation and marvel and pause at it, because I know no land ain't named St. Vincent. You cannot steal something that does not belong to you and expect to have it all the days of your life. The tide will shift. Things must change. And the rightful owner must take full claim of what's theirs. As the chief, the Ushatamu chief, I come to claim and restore the legacy and the balance and give the true history, the real identity of this land, Uromi, and whence the corporation established its company, followed by the French, and the British still use the French word St. Vincent till today. And by establishing the schools and the centers and all the institutions, they realize that if you want to colonize a land, it's more than just capturing people. It's capturing the mind, body, and soul. So you have to use methods such as religion and politics. You have to introduce a system that is going to teach the children from small, so they would not know about the culture, they would not know about the past, they would not know about the history, they would know about what we tell them who they are. So we will grow up knowing a lie for the truth, and the truth will become a lie. So when you're expressing the facts of a history, you have to stick to the real truth when you're expressing that. You can't tell me history of St. Vincent and then you're telling me that St. Vincent is the name of the island when St. Vincent was just established and fully incorporated as a company in fully 1701. Get the message straight, my people. The rain is gonna run me. I'm gonna go inside because I might have a little disturbance with the hearing of the recording. So please excuse me, my people. I have to go in because the rain just started on me. Excuse me. But I have to go in. And I have to finish the recording inside. Because you wouldn't be able to hear my voice with the loud rain that is coming down right now. So I'm gonna sit down here and finish the recording. So I only want to straight this out in a very serious and straight way. That the name St. Vincent is a company. And following the French, establishing it as a commercial company only at the seashores, at the shoreline, the seacoast, within the act of a treaty between we and the French, cause a little peace because they realized they couldn't win this war. This is the last land to colonize. You row me. All the rest of the land was colonized except in here. The French and the British fought towards each other to conquer this land. And the French let go of the land and give it to the British in 1768. After the defeat by destroying the food, the crops, and our resources in our camps by way of traitorism, acting that we and them is friends. Right? This is how some of our ancestors give up, while a 35% or 30% of us still remain doing we own thing. So, to let you know frankly and directly that the real act of slavery is called paper genocide or paper terrorists. It's not just capturing a man and capturing the land. It's documenting the land, removing the history from the land, removing the history from the people, and renaming everything. That is how the full act of slavery really established on this landmass and all over the world. When the French were here, established the colony, even though it was named St. Vincent, they weren't referring to the whole island as St. Vincent until the British managed to war with the French, took over, and then decide them will have to establish, rename a lot of the villages, and carry the thing to a different level. That's when the whole island start being called St. Vincent. The island has never been St. Vincent and will never be St. Vincent and can never be established or endorsed or recognized by me and my indigenous nation as St. Vincent. This is you row me. St. Vincent is a British colonized company or a French colonized company. The British took it over. It's really a French company first established as St. Vincent. The British is in charge of that company right now, but the establishment of that company is from the French. And that's all that is. There is no island called St. Vincent. And the people that was in cahoots with the French and the British that look like us, they weren't slaves. They were people that was joined with them to build and colonize the land as well. So the act of some of them misinterpretation and false story about ship bringing slaves here, incorrect. Those people are who they worked with them to help fight against our people and still couldn't overthrow us. Is we ancestors gave up after they lost a lot of the resources and the food stuff. They gave up. They did not conquer the land lawfully or forcefully. Our ancestors, because we was a large population, over 100,000, once 90% of our crops and food was destroyed, our ancestors felt that there was not enough resources to feed our people and we would starve. And 65% to 60% of them give up and surrender. They never capture this land by force. Just to let the message, just to get the truth out there for all if you know what I go on. Right? Because our ancestors was fear that the babies and the younger ones would have suffered for lack of food. They surrender. Right? They surrender. That's just a piece of the real story behind colonizing Uromi. Right? Not no St. Vincent. St. Vincent is just a company. And now let me go deep down now to the real truth about how this thing set up. It's set up through documentation. It's set up through paperwork, what we call paper terrorists or paper genocide. So in other words, they document the land and name the land after the company they create, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they create a documentation to document every man and woman on the land as a state entity through the document called birth certificate. So that slave bonded instrument was used to create their property. So it wasn't just the land they steal and rename, it was the people they create as a slave entity through documentation such as the birth certificate. When that was done, they realized that everything was in motion. That's the whole act of conquering. So these fake narrative now was created and designed to fool the masses and tell them that they came from African slave ships and hundreds of thousands of people was massacred, some drowned, some thrown overboard, and whoever survived was bringing to these land and become slave. It's a lie. They ain't bring nobody here slave. All we was is prisoners of war in we own land. Prisoners of war. The word slave is something they create. We become prisoners of war in we own land after surrendering to these people and be subject to their rules and code, ordinance and statutes because of lack of resources. When these people had, it was a very strategic plot. It was planned very carefully and executed very carefully. They use a couple people who look like us. When I say a couple, I don't mean 2 and 3. I mean within the 50 and the 60 into the different villages that we had, so that they could eradicate, destroy, and get rid of our food. Some of these same people took active part in destroying our food with the British and the French. That's how 90% of our people managed to be fully colonized in this land and documented as a slave through the birth certificate. This is the message I have to send today. I'm not sending a message that is incorrect and that only give the corporation credit when there is nothing called St. Vincent. It's just a company registered branded on the street. This is Uromi. That's what it is. If you want to get the truth, you'll get from me. You know, get a lie. Right? And we're not going to endorse a company over our true identity. That is why, in other words, for you to capture a nation of people and the land, you have to colonize the land and the people. And in other words, to colonize the land, you have to nationalize the land. To nationalize the land means you have to change the name of the land and change the name of the people. So you must document the people as your property. And how you do that? Through the document called birth certificate. So you document the people and birth certificate as your slave, and you document the land by a different name from its original name. And you rearrange and change the map and falsify information everyhow with the navigation system. And you recall this part of the Atlantis Island, which is East Atlantis, into West Indies. Right? And then you refer to it as Caribbean Island. All these is the part of paper genocide that was changed. This is actually East. It's not West. So it can't be West Indies. It's East Atlantis Islands that is referred to as West Indies. Or Caribbean Island. Right? The word Carib means cannibal. So they know what they was doing, and they know what they mean when they're putting out certain things out there, because they're using words that cast spells. And when they come to colonize the land, they didn't just colonize the land simply. They colonized the land in a very strategic way. They realized that they couldn't win the war to capture this land like they captured the other land. So they had to use some method to get to the land. And they had to pretend and perpetrate and act as though we and them was close friends. And pretend that they would trade and give things to us and accept back where the food stuff that we grow in the mountain, and pretending they're loyal, even drinking with some of our ancestors, wine and stuff. So we people fail to realize that it was just a scam. So they use people that look like us who was working with them to infiltrate and claim a slave that was run away, and that we must return them to them. When our ancestors fall for the trick and made the report and came into the city in a big gathering for a feast, they march into the mountains and destroy our food and our crops and burn down our places, our house and everything, and left us in a state of disarray. And that's what caused the surrendering. That's how they managed to capture the land. They never captured the land by force. So in other words, they never conquer us and win us in any war. They always was defeated. We slaughtered them. If you want to know the real history. The history of this land conquering was by surrendering because of fear of our people starving and suffering after the massacre of the food and the plantation and the burning down of our houses. When we ancestors take it into them to trust them, to have a feast with them after we claiming we return their slave to them, which was only a trick. This is how they managed to capture. So people have to wake up and stop endorse St. Vincent, stop endorse these colonizing company, speak the truth and expose the fraud, and let them know that Paramount Chief with the Ushatamu Nation established the Dijon government to take over and remove the corporation. Slowly but surely, it's going to be removed. The knowledge I share here today, live on this YouTube channel, is for the world to know that every one of these, whether it's elders or younger, come out and give some interview. They always promoting this corporation, St. Vincent. Like if a land named St. Vincent and it's just a company registered on Bread and Dunn Street. It's only a name and a piece of paper. This is Uromi. No way. Name St. Vincent. Wake up, my people. Paramount Chief give it raw, hard, and solid. I give you some historical facts. Do your own research. You might not get these evidence in the archives because a lot of information was hidden. But if you go and find certain documents or contact us, we can retrieve certain information that was never really published and would not be published because they want to hide the truth. So you ain't know what took place. But I will reveal it because I know about it. And even to the elder who claimed they're doing video, still lacking certain information, I will expose it. Love and light, my people. Share this YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Balance oneness. Balance.